high above the glowing cities of Luceris, floating on clouds shaped by technology and money, was a glass mansion larger than a stadium. It belonged to the richest man on the planet, Mr. Varn, a human billionaire known for building space elevators, underwater farms, and even artificial moons. But inside his perfect mansion, behind shining doors and golden corridors, lived a secret that no doctor, no machine, and no alien healer could fix. His 6 twin daughters, not human, but adopted alien girls from a destroyed planet, could not sleep, not for one night, not for 1 minute. For 3 long years they had stayed awake, eyes open, bodies tired, minds fading. They screamed in their rooms every night, speaking in broken whispers, sometimes in strange languages no one understood. The mansion had everything: hoverbeds, dream generators, lullaby drones, but none of it worked. Doctors came from every system. Experts charged millions, but they all left confused and ashamed. Even worse, the staff had begun quitting. They said the twins' rooms were cursed, that the cries weren't just cries but messages and warnings. Some claimed they heard whispers even in the kitchen, even while showering. Mr. Varn increased their pay, doubled their bonuses, begged them to stay, but the fear was stronger than the money, and that was when Jula came. A quiet alien maid, thin as a broomstick, her skin soft gray with spots like faded stars. She came from the mining colonies, barely speaking Earth English, desperate for any job. They hired her because she didn't ask questions. She didn't even look up when told about the no-sleep twins. She simply bowed and got to work. Jula cleaned the empty halls, polished the floors outside the twins' rooms, and every night she heard it, the muffled cries, the soft voices, the tapping on the glass. But she said nothing, just kept her eyes down and worked. Until one night something strange happened. She was cleaning near the girls' room when her hand began shaking. Not with fear, but with memory. She held her mop and softly began humming a tune. A slow, haunting melody, one her mother used to sing on the cold mining moons. It was a lullaby in her native tongue, a language almost forgotten as she hummed. The air around her shifted. The tapping behind the door stopped. The crying faded, and inside the room one of the twins, the third girl, with the silver eyes, closed her eyelids halfway. Eula didn't even notice. She kept humming as she walked down the hallway. The song was just something to comfort herself, to keep her heart calm. But inside the twins' room, the impossible was happening. For the first time in 3 years, a girl had almost fallen asleep. The next day, the staff reviewed the security footage and paused at the moment. No machine had been used, no medicine given, just a low hum, a simple song, and one twin who looked like she was dreaming. Mr. Varn stared at the screen, his hands tight on the table. He called the head of staff. Who was that humming? They checked the schedule, scanned the hallway logs, and found her name, Jula, the maid no one ever paid attention to. He ordered her to be brought in. When Jula stood before him, she was nervous. Not because she had done anything wrong, but because she didn't want to lose her job. She bowed and said, "I only sing when I clean, sir." "It helped me work faster," he asked. "What is that song?" She looked down and replied softly, "Just something from home from before. That night, mister." Varn didn't sleep either. He sat in the control room, watching the hallway, waiting. And right at midnight, Jula came with her mop. She began humming again, and this time 2 of the twins fell silent. Their eyes blinked slowly, their bodies relaxed. Even the AI nurse bot whispered, "Unusual decrease in stress levels detected." Varn couldn't believe it. Something in that song, something in Eula's voice, was reaching them, but why? And how did alien girls from a different planet know a melody from Jula's childhood? As he watched the monitor, a chill ran through his body. The twins were now whispering along with the melody, before Jula even sang the words. He turned to his security officer and said one word, "Watch her." But deep inside he knew. This maid had something no billionaire could buy, a secret older than money, and maybe, just maybe, the only key to letting his daughters finally sleep. The next night the mansion felt different. Lights dimmed lower than usual, and even the walls seemed to hold their breath. Mr. Varn didn't tell anyone, but he had turned off the hallway drones and ordered silence on level 7. He sat alone in the observation room, watching the cameras with eyes wide open. No guards, no servants. No noise except for the quiet footsteps of the alien maid. At exactly midnight her shift began. She walked barefoot this time, holding the mop like it was part of her arm. And just like before, she started to hum. Not loud, not cheerful soft like wind passing through old metal pipes. Inside the twins' bedroom, sensors lit up. Heartbeat monitors showed a sudden change. The girls, usually restless and twitching, were still, like petals floating in water. One twin blinked slowly, her golden pupils expanding. Another let out a quiet sigh and closed her eyes. And the soft lights above their beds turned a gentle shade of blue. "Dream state detected," said the AI monitor. Blinking in confusion, Mr. Varn leaned forward in his chair. His hands gripped the desk so tight his knuckles turned pale. This was no trick, no technology. It was Jula. Her voice, her song. A melody older than this planet, and it was working. But the song wasn't just affecting the twins. Even the cleaning bot slowed down. Even the mansion lights dimmed a little more. As if the house itself was starting to dream, and Jula, her face calm, her eyes closed, walked like she was gliding through a world no one else could see. The next morning, chaos returned. Doctors stormed in when they saw the sleep reports. Security asked questions. Staff whispered behind doors, "Did you hear? 2 twins slept for almost 6 minutes. It's impossible they haven't blinked right in years." But none of them had answers. Only Mr. Varn knew what had changed. He called Hula again. This time he was gentle. He offered her tea, something he had never done for any worker before. She sat quietly, holding the warm cup like it was a treasure. "Where did you learn that song?" Riti asked. Eula looked down, her eyes flickering. "It was my mother's song, sir, from long ago, before the mines, before the war." "Which planet?" She hesitated. "It doesn't have a name anymore, just numbers and ash." He stared at her. "You know my daughters are not from Earth," he said. She nodded. "Yes, their eyes, their skin. They are like the dreamers of my world." Mr. Varn leaned back, troubled. "What do you mean, dreamers?" Eula's voice trembled. "There were children on my planet, born different, with glowing eyes, always talking in sleep. Our elders said they were touched by the dream root, a force that lived beneath the surface, inside the soil. Some said it was a curse. Others said it was a gift, and what happened to them?" he asked. She looked away. "They were taken, sir, one by one. Then the sky caught fire, and everything was gone." A silence fell between them. But Mr. Varn knew this was not just a lucky song. This was something deeper. The twins were not just alien. They were connected to whatever Eula's people once feared and loved. He made a decision. Every night. "You will sing for them," he said. "I'll double your pay. Triple it if needed." But Eula shook her head. "I don't do it for money." "Sir," she said softly, "they are children, and children should dream." That night Chula sang again, but this time she entered the room. She sat beside their beds, her hands on her knees, and hummed louder. The twins opened their eyes, not in fear, but in peace, and one of them, the youngest, smiled. The AI reported full REM sleep after 7 minutes. All 6 twins showed signs of brain restoration and stress recovery. But it wasn't just science, the room was different now. Warmer, softer, almost sacred. Jula stayed until morning. Her back against the wall, she didn't sleep. But she closed her eyes and listened to the dreams as if she could hear them. And maybe she could, because when she finally stood to leave, one of the girls mumbled something in her sleep, a word Jula hadn't heard since her childhood. Eulath. It meant mother of dreams. She froze, tears touched her cheeks. That name was only used in her village for one woman each generation. A woman chosen by the dream root to carry the lullabies of the lost. Mr. Varn watched the footage again. He didn't understand the word, but he saw Jula's face and he knew. This poor alien maid was no ordinary cleaner. She was the last keeper of something sacred, and for the first time in years, he believed that maybe, just maybe, his daughters would be saved. The third night, no one dared speak. The mansion staff whispered less, stepped softer, and kept their eyes on the screens. The news had spread. Eula was singing again, and the twins were sleeping, not once, not twice. But now 3 nights in a row, Mr. Varn didn't leave the control room. He sat with specialists from 3 worlds, humans, aliens, even a retired dream monk from Orion 5. All of them silent, staring at the monitor as Eula entered the bedroom. This time she didn't mop the floor. She didn't bring cleaning supplies or ask for permission. She simply walked in, folded her hands in her lap, and began to hum. The twins were already awake. wide-eyed and trembling as if they had seen something no child should see. But as soon as her voice floated through the air, they calmed. Their eyes closed slowly, their little bodies stopped twitching, and the temperature in the room rose by 1 degree, just enough to feel safe. Mr. Varn's heart ached watching them finally relax. But what he saw next turned peace into pure confusion. As Hula hummed, the twins began whispering. Not in Earth language, not in any registered alien dialect. But the old dream monk stood up shaking. That tongue is older than time, older than war, older than memory, he said. That is the song of the root. The scientists didn't understand. They scanned their databases, their translators, their machines, but found nothing. Eula's melody didn't match any known audio pattern. The whispering words the twins spoke weren't even supposed to exist. When Mr. Varn confronted Jula the next day, she looked afraid. Not of him, but of something she couldn't name. I didn't teach them that language, sir, she said. They already knew it. Before I ever opened my mouth, he stared at her, voice low. Then how is it the same as your mother's song? Eula whispered, because the dream root doesn't teach. It remembers. Varn was silent. The idea was impossible. How could adopted alien girls from a destroyed planet speak a forbidden lullaby from a maid's homeworld? How could children who had never known Jula's people recite lost verses from her culture's oldest dream song? He called in a galactic linguist, one who specialized in ancient pre-collapse languages. They listened to the twins' sleep recordings, slowed them down and froze. The girls were not just whispering. They were reciting prophecy, fragments of a forgotten future. Sentences like, "The root will awaken when the stars forget sleep. The mother shall carry the cries. 6 lights in 1 breath." Bound to the singer. None of it made sense. But all of it matched old carvings found deep in Eula's destroyed moon. Carvings she had never seen, but her people had spoken of in fear and awe. The language had never been written, only dreamed. Meanwhile, Hula was changing. She was quieter, slower, like her body was holding something heavy. She barely ate, barely slept, but every night, she returned to the room and hummed. And every night, the twins whispered deeper into that impossible language. One night, she collapsed while singing. The AI nurse rushed in, sensors flashing red. Her body was fine, but her brain showed something terrifying. Multiple dream states running at once. As if she wasn't just sleeping, but holding someone else's dreams inside her. Mr. Varn visited her in the medical wing. She sat up slowly, smiled weakly. "They're resting," she said, "but their dreams, they're not theirs." "What do you mean?" he asked. "They're someone else's memories," she whispered. "Something old, something buried, something trapped." Varn stared at her. His daughters were finally sleeping. But at what cost? That's what had Eula unlocked. That same night, one of the twins, the 4th girl with violet skin, drew something in her sleep. She used her fingers like chalk against the bedsheet. When the AI captured the symbol, the linguist gasped. It matched the glyph of the cradle, an ancient myth from Jula's homeworld, spoken of only in legend. A place buried deep in the earth where the first dreamers were born. A place where dreams could take shape and where sleeping wrong meant never waking up. Varn didn't believe in fairy tales. But the evidence was right there, the melody, the whispers, the symbols. They were connected somehow. His daughters were bonded to this song, this cradle, and to Eula, and the deeper she sang, the closer they all came to something he couldn't see. But he could feel it. Something was waking up. And not just the girls. That night, as Eula sat in the dark singing her lullaby, the floor beneath her began to hum, low, deep, and ancient. Like the mansion itself had heard the song too, and now it wanted to remember. The 4th night, the mansion was no longer just a home. It felt like a sleeping beast holding its breath, listening to a forgotten song. Walls didn't creak, elevators didn't hum. Even the cleaning bots rolled slower. Everyone knew something strange was growing. And at the center of it all, Hula and the 6 sleepless twins, Mr. Varn now had scientists, monks, and dream speakers gathered in a private chamber. A round table of the best minds in the galaxy, trying to understand how a poor maid's lullaby was changing reality. The linguist showed them the symbol drawn by the violet-skinned twin. It was the glyph of the cradle, something that shouldn't exist, yet now appeared on silk bedsheets in a child's handwriting. "That glyph," whispered the monk, "was once believed to open a gate beneath the ground." "Not a real gate," said a technician. "A myth," Symbolic. No, the monk replied, voice shaking. A real one. One that leads to the root of dreams. The staff dismissed it at first, until the floor under the girls' room vibrated. Not from machines, not from pipes, but something alive. Sensors couldn't trace it. The stone didn't move, but energy flowed underneath. Like blood through ancient veins, Jula sat beside the twins again, humming softly, but her body looked weaker, like each night of singing pulled her soul thinner. Mr. Varn approached her afterward, voice gentle. "You're not well," he said. She smiled and replied, "I'm not meant to be well, sir. I was meant to listen." He paused. "Listen to what?" To them," she whispered, eyes drifting toward the girls' beds. "They're not sick, sir. They're receiving." "Receiving what?" Eula looked at the floor. "The dreams of the root. It buried itself under your house. It reached out through them, and now it's remembering itself." Varn stood there, stunned, a tech billionaire, a man of logic, science, and reason. And here stood a maid talking about roots that remember, yet the facts kept aligning. The vibrations were real, the language was real, and the more the girls slept, the more symbols they drew, perfectly. With eyes closed that night, Mr. Varn gave the order. "Drill beneath the twins' room." No one argued. Within hours, robotic diggers began to cut through the lower floors. But the deeper they drilled, the stranger the results became. The stone wasn't natural, it was crafted, shaped like the walls of a temple, and then the drill struck something hollow. They sent a drone inside. The camera showed a massive underground chamber, circular, silent, and covered in glowing marks that matched the girls' drawings exactly. In the center stood a raised platform, a cradle made of glowing crystal, not built by humans, not even by Jula's kind. This was something older, something made for dreamers, and it pulsed with energy like a sleeping heart. Eula was brought to the screen. She stared at the footage and fell to her knees. "I've seen that," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "In my dreams as a child. Before the mines, before the war. I thought it wasn't real." "It's real," Mr. Varn said, his voice tight. "And it's under my daughters." Now the question wasn't what to do. It was how to stop it. The dream monk warned them. If this cradle awakens fully, the girls may not survive. Their minds are not ready. They are only vessels. The cradle seeks a singer. Everyone turned to Jula. Her voice had awakened the sleep. Her song had stirred the cradle, but why her? She stood slowly, swaying on weak legs. "Because I was born from the same soil. Because I carry its voice, I don't sing to put them to sleep. I sing to hold back the root." Mr. Varn's face paled. "You mean, if you stop singing, they'll drown in the dream?" She nodded. "And it will take them forever." Suddenly, the youngest twin cried out in her sleep. The room filled with pressure, like gravity had thickened. Monitors screamed, lights flashed red. One of the girls began floating off the bed, levitating. Her body glowing faintly blue, Jula rushed in, dropped to her knees, and began to hum louder than ever before. Within seconds, the glow faded. The child fell back gently, and her breathing calmed. Everyone stood frozen. The cradle had tried to pull her in, and only Hula's voice stopped it to her. Varn turned to his engineers. "Seal the hole for now," he said, "but don't bury it again, because now..." He understood. This wasn't just about dreams. This was about ancient memory. And the maid he had ignored, the alien girl with soft hands and a tired face, was the only one keeping his daughters from vanishing into the unknown. The mansion no longer felt safe. It felt like standing on the skin of something vast and asleep. And every night Eula sang, not to comfort, but to keep it from waking up. The floor beneath the twins' bedroom stayed sealed, but the humming never stopped. Even when the drills were turned off, even when no one walked near it, that soft, deep vibration continued. Like a song being sung by the earth itself, Jula could feel it in her bones now. Each note in her lullaby echoed back from the stone below. As if something ancient was singing with her, Mr. Varn stopped trusting machines. He ordered human guards outside the girls' room, but they never stayed long. They said the walls whispered their names, that shadows moved without light. One of them quit on the spot after seeing one twin sleepwalk to the hallway and draw glowing symbols on the door, while her eyes were closed. The billionaire didn't sleep anymore either. He watched recordings, listened to the lullabies, and stared at blueprints of the mansion's foundation. It hadn't always been a mansion before it was built. The land had been untouched for centuries. Even the builders said the ground felt strange when they dug the supports. But they ignored it, poured in concrete, and erased the past with glass. Now the past was waking up, and it wanted to be remembered. Eula stood near the sealed hole in the foundation with Mr. Varn. A soft wind blew upward, though no air system was running. She closed her eyes and her voice trembled. "It's not just a cradle," she whispered. "It's a memory vault." He looked at her, confused. "It keeps the dreams of those who came before," she explained. "Long ago, my people used them to carry pain, fear, hope. So our children didn't have to feel it all. The dreams lived beneath the surface. Inside these cradles." Varn stared into the dark hole. "And now it's leaking," he said quietly. Jula nodded. "The dreams are no longer contained. They found your daughters. They're open. Soft, perfect vessels that night." The twins cried again, but not in pain. They wept in their sleep, whispering names no one recognized, names of lovers, warriors, mothers, monsters, memories that didn't belong to them. Yet they felt real. Jula sang louder, and the girls calmed. But each time she sang now, she grew weaker. Her skin turned pale, her steps slower, her eyes dimmer. The energy from the cradle wasn't just entering the twins. It was passing through her in a quiet emergency meeting. Mr. Varn listened to the experts argue. "She can't continue like this," the doctor said. "She's absorbing too much dream energy. It'll kill her." "But if she stops," said the monk, "the cradle will fully awaken, and the girls may be lost forever." Varn stood, fists clenched. "There has to be another way," he said. But no one replied. Later that night, Eula entered the dream chamber again, this time alone. She walked down the long stairs to the crystal cradle buried beneath the mansion. She didn't tell anyone, not even Mr. Varn. The cradle pulsed gently, almost like it was breathing. 6 stone tablets floated around it, each one glowing with different colors. Blue, violet, green, silver, gold, red. Eula stepped closer and began to hum, not a lullaby, but a call. The cradle responded, opening slowly, revealing a glowing core. Inside was a sphere swirling with lights and shadows. Pure dream memory. Eula fell to her knees, her eyes wide. "It's too much," she whispered. "But I will take it." She reached toward the core, and the sphere shattered into 6 streams of light. Each one shot upward, toward the mansion, toward the sleeping twins. And one, brighter than the rest, curved back and entered Eula's chest. She screamed, not in pain, but in pure memory. She saw thousands of lifetimes, millions of faces, whole civilizations rising and falling. All in the span of one breath. Upstairs, the twins stopped crying. Their bodies relaxed, their hearts slowed to a calm rhythm. Their minds finally still. All 6 fell into true sleep. Not dream-trapped, not cursed, peaceful. Normal, deep sleep. The AI monitor blinked green for the first time in 3 years. "Sleep cycle complete," it announced. Mr. Varn stared in shock. "What happened?" he shouted. But the nurse bots didn't know. No one knew except Jula. She was found hours later, lying beside the cradle, her body glowing faintly. Her pulse was steady, but her brain activity was impossible. She was dreaming 6 dreams at once. Each one matched the last known readings of the twins. She had taken their burden, she had carried their memories, and now she held them all inside herself. When she woke, her voice was gone, but her eyes shone like stars, and when the twins saw her, they smiled and ran into her arms. They didn't know why, but something in their souls whispered, "She's the one who saved us." For the first time in 3 years, the billionaire's mansion was quiet. Not just quiet, peaceful. No alarms, no crying, no whispers in the walls. The 6 alien twins were finally sleeping like normal children. No more glowing eyes, no more floating above their beds. Just the sound of soft breathing and the rise and fall of tiny chests under warm blankets. But not everything was healed in the chamber deep below the mansion. Hula remained in bed, her body warm, her heart steady. But her voice gone. She didn't speak now, not even a word. But when she opened her eyes, the staff stepped back. Because her eyes had changed, they shimmered with 6 colors at once. Each color matching one of the girls. The scientists said it wasn't possible, that no body could carry multiple dream streams without losing the mind. But Jula wasn't ordinary anymore. She had become something in between. Mr. Varn stood by her bedside, watching, thinking. He had everything, power, ships, worlds, money that could build stars, but in the end, it had taken a maid to do what all his wealth couldn't, to heal what no machine could touch. The monks called her a vessel of the root, the scientists called her a dream host, but the twins called her something else. When they visited her room, they whispered the name from their sleep. Dream Mother. Each night, one of them would crawl into her bed and rest beside her, and though Shula didn't speak, she smiled and wrapped her arms around them. Like she could feel their dreams from the inside. Still, Mr. Varn couldn't sleep, because now he faced an impossible question. What would happen if Jula died? Would the twins lose sleep again? Would the dream root come back stronger? Would it take them forever? He called another meeting. The experts sat around the crystal table, nervous. She can't carry this burden forever, the dream monk warned. She needs help or she'll be lost. But we can't remove the dreams now, said the AI technician. They're intertwined with her neurons. To pull them out would mean erasing part of her soul, Mr. Varn paced the floor. Then we build something, he said. A machine that holds the dreams for her. But the engineers shook their heads. We don't understand the root enough. It's not just memory, it's emotion, pain, love, fear. No machine can carry those and survive. Only a person could. Only someone willing to suffer for others. Later that night, Eula rose from her bed. She walked slowly, barefoot, to the window. The twins followed her silently, like they knew where she was going. She descended the stairs, past the sealed door, into the glowing chamber again, Mr. Varn followed too, not stopping her. Just watching inside, the cradle had opened. Its glow soft and sad, like it had been waiting for her. Jula turned, placed a hand on each of the 6 girls' heads. And they smiled, not because they understood, but because they felt safe, Mr. Varn stepped forward, voice low. Don't do this, he said. You've done enough. Eula touched his arm gently, then looked into his eyes. She pointed to the cradle, then to herself, then drew a circle in the air. It was a choice to stay. She would live inside the cradle, not dead, not alive, half in the dream, half in the waking world, a living seal, a guardian, a mother of memory, Mr. Varn shook his head. There must be another way, he whispered. Tears filled his eyes. I can give you a planet, a hospital, anything you want, but Jula smiled. And for the first time since losing her voice, she sang. It was soft, like wind, like hope being born again. And the chamber glowed brighter. The walls pulsed gently. The 6 girls began humming too, unknowingly joining the melody. And suddenly everything became clear. This was not a sacrifice, this was a calling. Eula stepped into the cradle, light wrapped around her body like warm cloth, and her eyes closed gently, her face peaceful. She didn't vanish, she simply became still, like a statue made of stardust and dreams. The cradle sealed itself slowly and the chamber grew quiet. But the walls never stopped glowing and the hum of her lullaby played endlessly. Like a heartbeat upstairs, the twins slept peacefully. Every night, every hour, every moment, and in the years that followed, people came from across the galaxy to see the place where dreams had been saved. Not by war, not by money, not by machines, but by a poor alien maid who chose love over everything else. Years passed, but the hum beneath the mansion never stopped. It was softer now, like a distant heartbeat. Gentle, warm, and comforting, the cradle stayed sealed, glowing with faint colors that changed with the seasons, and within it Eula slept, not in death, not in life, but somewhere in between. Every night, the 6 alien twins walked down to the chamber. They sat beside the cradle and hummed the melody Eula once sang. They didn't need machines anymore, or lullaby drones. They needed only her, Mr. Varn transformed the mansion. The top floors remained his home, but the lower levels became something else. He called it the Dream Hall, not a museum, not a temple, but a place where people could sit in silence and listen to the cradle's hum. They came from across the stars, parents with crying children, broken veterans with haunted eyes, runaway orphans and weary wanderers. And somehow, when they sat near the cradle, they found peace. No one explained how. No one needed to. Mr. Varn never rebuilt the AI sleep labs. He never hired new dream doctors. He simply placed a plaque at the entrance of the hall. It read, "She gave them dreams when even hope had slept." People began calling her the Dream Mother of Luceris, but the twins called her something softer, something only they understood. Mama Jula. They grew up healthy, kind and wise. Each girl carried a gift. One could calm a crying child with a whisper. Another painted what she saw in her dreams, images of cities no one had ever seen. One could walk through fire without pain. Another could speak to animals as if they were family. Mr. Varn never revealed what the girls truly were. He only said, "They are mine and they are Eula's," and no one questioned him. One day, a reporter from another world asked, "Why didn't you just use money to solve the problem?" Mr. Varn smiled sadly and replied, "Because you can't buy love, and you can't program compassion. Only a heart like hers could hold their pain." The cradle became a legend, but Eula became something greater in small villages. People sang her lullaby to help children sleep. On ships lost in deep space, the hum was played in quiet moments. It was said that if you hummed it with a full heart, you'd feel someone holding your dreams safely in the dark. The twins grew older, and on their 17th birthday they made a promise. They would never leave the dream hall. One would always stay beside the cradle every night. They didn't guard it out of fear. They watched over it like daughters guarding a mother's grave, except this mother still lived, and sometimes, in the quietest hours, they swore they saw her smile behind the glass. Mr. Varn aged with time. His hair turned gray, his body slower, but every morning, he walked to the chamber. He didn't speak. He just sat and listened. And on the day of his passing, the hum grew louder, as if Eula was singing one last time just for him. They buried him beside the cradle, and on his tombstone, it read, "He gave them everything, but she gave them rest." Legends grew. They said the dream mother would return when the galaxy cried out again. That when children could no longer sleep, she would rise and sing, and her voice would mend what war and fear had broken one day. A little orphan girl from a far-off world entered the dream hall. She sat beside the cradle and began to hum, without ever learning the song. The glow pulsed gently, and a soft warmth spread through the chamber. The monks whispered, "She hears her." The scientists said, "Another dream link." But the twins only smiled because they knew Eula was still awake. Inside the cradle, inside the melody, inside every dream that needed healing. And so the legend lived, not carved in stone, but carried in lullabies and remembered by those who once had no sleep, until a poor alien maid gave them everything she had. Not riches, not power, but the most human thing of all, a place to rest and someone to sing them home